Hey everyone, it's Maddox, and it's time for another Grid Space. Every other week, we team up with my group of friends to talk about our love for games and everything it takes to make them. This Tuesday at 6 p.m. UTC, we're running it back with another one for AI in gaming. We had so much to unpack last time that we're diving deeper into the topics we only began to scratch the surface on. Is AI-generated art still art? And who gets the credit for prompting it? The increase of vibe coding in games, and the many possibilities of AI-driven, user-generated content. Expect another unscripted, authentic, and sentient conversation from builders and founders alike. As always, if you're passionate about gaming, AI tech, or just new to it all, be sure to raise your hand so you can jump into the conversation. Make sure to set your reminders, and we'll see you in the Grid Space. All right. We're in for another Grid Space. I just wanted to have a nice little spot for us to hang out on the backstage. This is also so I can have it recorded if I need any fun clips from it. But yeah, we'll be kicking off in about 2 minutes, and hope y'all can hear just fine. I did drop the official link in the description, so if you'd like to join in on this conversation, if it's something that you are, here for, let's go. I wonder if it's gonna let me do this at the same time on Twitter. I might need to turn that one off. All right, well, either way, I'm gonna switch that one off just so Elon doesn't get mad at me for streaming in two places, because I do have to go host. Let me go flip that one off really quick. So if you're on Twitter, you can watch the stream back end on the stream on Xenon, on Arena, on YouTube. We'll have those locations there for streaming. And if you want to be in the space, that'll be coming up in 1 minute. So I'll see y'all there. Everybody on Twitter, bye-bye. All right, there we go. We're going to turn that one off just so we're ready to go. Again, I dropped the link in the description. If you guys are hanging out, I appreciate you. If you have questions, bring them to the space. Bring them to the space. That we have an open stage, so all are welcome. I am tipping off my point man here. In 1 moment, who's saying, hey, we're going to get going. So let me make sure that I've got a way to listen in that's not my account. We're going to go into Dream Test Labs, and we're going to check it out from there. There we go. There's me being awesome. All right, very good. I'm wearing my Project O shirt today. You can't really see it, but awesome. Awesome. Let me set my... there we go. All right, set my chair where I like it. You have to sign in 2 places. Hang tight. All right, we should be kicking off in 1 moment. Probably have this link here on the clipboard. There we are. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Head on over to Grid Network. We'll be kicking off in just a moment. There it is. Set your reminders. Go say hi. We'll be there with our friends to talk about AI and gaming. We had so much to talk about last week, or 2 weeks ago, that we brought the topic back. So we'll see what happens. We don't script anything here. We don't have any sort of predetermined space. We just let the discussion unfold. And we'll be getting kicked off in just a moment. Should be going anytime in a minute. There we go. Yep, like I said. All right, so I'm going to listen there. Yep, very good. And let me pull it up on the... I'm sure we're hearing just fine, so I just wanted to be clear on that. Let me just... Arena. All right, we're back on Arena too. We're gonna make sure that that's all right. So I'm gonna listen there. Yeah, yep. Very good. Very good. All right, very good. Now let's make sure that this is set to the right one. Grid Space. Ooh, yeah, that's the one. Okay, you guys should be able to hear that in 1 second. I'm gonna get over there myself. My co-host is probably like, "Where you at, bro?" Let me find it here. Not now. Oh. Nope. Let me find Grid. He's gonna freak out. He's gonna be like, where are you, bro? I'm right here. All right, we're coming. We're almost there. We're almost there. All right, I'm gonna cut my ears off here though, so I can focus on that, and I will talk to y'all soon. You'll have to listen in from the listen in, so I'm going to turn off my mic here too. All right. See you soon. Hello, hello, hello. Are we all here and listening? We're doing the thing. Let me get my co-host going on here. Wonderful to see everybody. All right, Spaceman's here. Let me get him on stage. Oh, hold on. A little too soon. I didn't have co-host rights yet. There we go. Now the requests are coming through. All right, let me make sure I can hear y'all in the right spot. Gotta turn that to that. Very good. Very good. All right, Spaceman, you're approved. Ghost Cat, you're approved. Let's see, I'll get some invites out as well. Boom. There's one for that. Saw some other friends. Be sure if you guys are looking to speak that you rate your request up. That way I can find you faster. How's everybody doing on this Tuesday? At my house, it is sunny and not too hot and beautiful. I have to go mow my lawn to, thank the weather for such good weather. Been a little
Good
all
and
over the place.
subjective. Good. It's way hot over here where I'm at. My phone is melting through my hand right now. I just
Oh
prayed to Elon
no.
that it keeps going, and it won't drop the space.
Yeah, dude. It's we'll pray. It's all good. I think. I mean, I don't know if as co-host I can hold it on. I'm not really sure. We'll find out. Either who, I'm glad to see people rolling up to the grid space today on a Tuesday. Just getting a couple more speakers up here. We don't do any major introductions, but we do sound checks. So we'll go around the room, make sure everybody can be heard. Spaceman, how you doing today, man?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Doing great. Also nice and sunny, not too hot over here.
Nice, nice. Love to see it. Glad you're here, man. And Ghost Cat Joypad, how are you today? What is up?
GM, like coming through.
You are loud and clear, sir.
Let's
Loud and
go.
clear. Ready to talk
Study.
about AI and gaming?
I have, maybe, yeah,
I love it. I love
100%.
it. 100%. Alrighty. Ja Wick, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be here. We have a fun topic.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited to dive into it. Glad we can hear you just fine. And behind the Dark Table account, Kyle, how you doing?
Good. It's monsoon season here, so finally getting some rain in the desert. Always a good day.
Yeah. Nice and cool. Yep, the contrast is good. I love it. Love it. I heard a little co-host in the background. That's awesome. Let's go. I appreciate you popping in today. Thank you so much. We're waiting for a couple other speakers to pop through. As we see them, we'll get them up here. But while we're waiting for them, we can go into a little bit of housekeeping to get this thing kicked off and rolling. Here at the Grid Space, we have a pretty lackadaisical, fun, authentic, and organic conversation with some friends, founders and alike, and builders. We try to pick up topics that have to do with gaming and stuff you guys would be interested in learning about. And we had a topic last week so thick that we had to spill it over into this episode as well. We really were trying to hold. How are we? Let me ask a sound. I could probably ask on the side, but Jay, how are we doing on time today? I'm going to keep it to an hour, I promise. But if we have to, we got a couple grace minutes after today.
We got many grace minutes. In fact, extra grace minutes as needed. Last show we had a critical engagement at the end, so we had to abide by the clock of the law, but not the case today, my friend.
Let's go. I won't take advantage of that, but it is nice to know we're not in any sort of rush. So that is fantastic. Love it. But yeah, so what we do here, guys, we open the topic up. Anybody is welcome to speak. Everybody is encouraged to speak and share the time, of course. The only big rule we have some young listeners listening into our grid space, and I love the fact that we have them, the future of our gaming generations to come. But for that reason, we just ask that you keep your language as polite as possible, just for any young listeners who are listening today. Otherwise, we understand mistakes happen. We'll catch them as we go, and we'll move along and keep the conversation rolling. But yeah, the hand raising is allowed, but you don't have to use it to speak. Anybody can chime in where they see fit.
If somebody else is speaking, it can be a great tool to make sure that, you let somebody finish their thought and let us know that you have a thought following up. And we'll do our best to keep it organized and fun. But otherwise, if we get lost, we'll just make sure that everybody's having a good time and getting in the thoughts they have. So welcome to the grid space. If you've never been here before, we have a pretty open stage as well. We have, I invite my friends, most of the people I know and have worked with in the space for many years now. And I love having them here, but I also love hearing from folks who have no idea what we're doing. If you're brand new to gaming, AI, any of this, and you have questions, this space is yours as well. Feel free to reach out. And if you have something to add to the topic or a question specific related to the topic, we would love to hear from you. So just feel free to reach up and say hi. So let me get Jordan a sound check. How are you doing, Mr. Jordan?
I am doing great. I am down on the Jersey Shore enjoying the beachy vibes, ready to talk about AI and gaming. What could be better?
Beachy vibes. Let's go, my dude. I love it. Let's see here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Make sure you guys say hi or request up if you were asked to speak and you want to be here. Otherwise, we'll catch them as they come. I got to bump a person or two, but the topic is not a surprise today. We're talking about AI and gaming. Last week, or sorry, 2 weeks ago, we meet every other week on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. UTC. But last episode, we were talking about AI and gaming, and it went all different directions than I thought it was gonna go. When I think about AI and gaming, I think about all the use case applications, turning our NPCs into AI PCs or whatever you want to call them, giving new life to mundane lines of text that you play through, over and over and over again. It's the same result. Whereas if you had an AI NPC, it might be a new story every single time. Could you imagine if we could take AI and have the world build itself as you play? So instead of just following different character storylines, you can follow new worlds as you're exploring around and really create the space that you're playing in as you're playing. So everybody has their own unique game to play. That's another interesting concept. But we took it in a direction of art. AI generated art, AI UGC going into games, building your own assets with AI assistance, building your own games with vibe coding. That came up a lot last week as well, or last episode as well. I got to stop with the last week stuff. Maybe we should start every week, Jay. I don't know. Maybe then I won't mess up. Either way, we have so much we can dive in on this. And so that's my introduction to the topic. I will open it up to you all, and there's no rhyme or reason or order. I just need anybody to start us off, and let's dive into this discussion about AI in gaming. Who wants to kick us off?
I can start it off.
Let's go.
Yeah, I've been working, tinkering around with some of the tools for AI, like generative AI for UGC, and like it's tough, man. It is really difficult to make automated systems that actually produce good quality results. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely like still very excited for the power of this technology, but it's definitely going to take some time to really make them fun and like good quality. But yeah, I have been having some fun with these world building models. So there's a few of them out there now, but like they're like a large language model that is trained or fine tuned to service like a game world, right? And so it can learn all the lore about your game. It can learn the mechanics of your game, and it can, birth characters. It can create weapons at will, for example, and stuff like that. So that has been super awesome to play with, especially for a game developer or any, person who likes sandbox games. Like this type of service where you have like a smart world god that can like create worlds and characters and items and so on at will is super cool. um, I do wonder, like, because you in your intro you mentioned the ability for this type of tech to be used to create unique experiences for people. Like I think that's really cool, but I do wonder how it's gonna work with like mass multiplayer, you know, all trying to interact with the same universe, same world, same story, but still have it be kind of unique to them. So yeah, that's kind of where my thoughts are at right now.
Can I
Absolutely. Yeah, please,
drop
Jordan.
something
Go
in?
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
please.
just like a very different direction of thought on that last little thing about like AI enabling, people to have like totally unique customized experiences in a game that I don't hear people often kind of pushing back on it through this lens. I just want to add it in, which is if you make let's ignore the multiplayer part, right? Like you make a single player game and you're like, this is the ultimate do anything you want RPG. It's like Baldur's Gate, but it's entirely generated and everyone has a completely unique total, experience. The game is literally inventing the most incredible game you've ever played around you as you play it. Right? That's like the utopia we're talking about. But then how do you talk to anybody about it? Right? There's a huge component in the experience of playing a game, which is, oh my God, that amazing moment, right? And this is true for every kind of media, music, television, movies, TikToks, everything. Is you're creating a culture and you're creating a shared conversation, you're forming relationships around it. And I'm not saying that it's not a super cool idea. I just kind of think it might be its own genre of thing. And it has that gigantic trade off that I don't really I see people seeing it as just like a pro. And I think that that's like a really important con to that idea if it was pulled off. That should at least be like considered.
Jawick, and then my lovely co-host Jay.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I think, some of the things that make gaming great are kind of that the shared lore and experience that you have. And, being a millennial, you can relate to anyone that's been in the gaming scene, talking about LAN parties with Halo 2 and just, the different things that kind of brought folks together in these like shared experiences that doesn't matter if you grew up in a different part of the world or the country, like, you maybe experience that same type of thing, right? And that makes sense. I think like I also take on that is that, you know, we previous I think Jordan was talking about the consistency aspect, right? And I think that we're still like fairly far away before we see that world of like an RPG that's being generated as it's being played for an end user. I think that we're still like pretty far away now. As far as AI goes, that's probably single digit years, not a crazy far away, but it's like when you look at what all the different, and when we know this, we leverage a lot of this generative technology and use a lot of these tools, is just like, it's very difficult to maintain that consistency. And so even if you want it to be completely customized for the user experience, you still want it to be a great experience, right? And so like how do you guarantee that that world builder is still going to be putting out the same amount of quality based off the decisions I make compared to what the decisions you make or what butterfly effects happen throughout the lore, but it's still of a quality that a studio wants to put out. And so I think that we're farther than that from what people might think.
Go ahead, Jay, and then Ghost Cat can follow up.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really thrilled that Jordan and you guys double clicked on this because I think it's going to become a louder conversation as people realize what's going on. And I don't think people realize really what's going on as we lose the monoculture that we once had. But it's already gone, and it's been gone for many years. The advent of social media and individualized feeds and personalized content to keep you on the platform has been fragmenting our monoculture to where it's basically a memory of what it once was. I'm an elder millennial, so we are the last generation to remember, like, hey, do you see Borat? Like everybody in the country. Hey, did you see American Pie? Like everybody in the country. Or hey, did you see Lost or whatever? And everybody had everything to talk about all at once, and it brought a lot of camaraderie, shared experience, and all that. But younger Zoomers and alphas will never know. Younger Zoomers might remember a little of that, but like it's just not a thing anymore. And in media, passive media, it's already very fragmented and monoculture is dead. I could walk into a party and say, hey, did you guys see that viral TikTok that got 50 million likes? And nobody would in the room would know what I was talking about. Like that's how fragmented it is. Like 50 million likes isn't even enough. So, so in video games, I expect to see this happen as well as AI comes into the mix, because AI does offer these unique gameplay experiences, and it may be that the market doesn't even understand the concept of a shared community moment or a shared culture moment anymore, and it's really just survival of the fittest, hawk Tua, and then we move on. But there are advantages to having a spaceman through that. There are advantages to having these unique experiences. It's very good for retention, but how good is it for culture? How good is it for community? Not too sure.
Ghost Cat, go for it.
What's good? I feel like what you guys are talking about here for the AI being like a world builder and all that, it's so reminiscent of what we have already with procedural generation, which has been used in games already, like No Man's Sky, now with Peak, which is a newer game that uses procedural generation for their maps, and it's something that like they input the values, right? They have the assets, and it just gives it like basically variations of what they've already built. Um, and I feel like that already works very well. I honestly don't see how having AI do it would make it better, in my opinion. And with like procedural generation, like what John Wick was saying, how you don't get like the shared experiences like having it with AI building out the worlds for each iteration. I feel like with procedural generation, you still get like the same feeling, right? It's the same feeling across the board when players are playing um, throughout like the different maps that are being generated. And it's like a new experience every once in a while for players to get into. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's odd. It's like the same thing, you know? It's like bringing something that's very similar to what we already have. I feel like AI can be used for so much more, and it is being used for a lot more. I just feel like it wouldn't have like much of a purpose right now in its current state to offer like that much value over what procedural generation offers, which I'm not sure that might even use AI itself to do that already. Um,
So here's how I think about it. Like, you did you play Baldur's Gate 3?
no.
Oh, you didn't. Okay, that's another one, like good example of how procedural generation and like players can play the same game but have like a different experience, right? But like even in that game, right, which won best game of the year or whatever, like you still had players experiencing roughly the same, exactly the same set of like scenes or situations like when they reach an encounter. So for example, like here's an experience. I was playing by myself, and I like saw this shack in the woods. I was coming up to it. I opened it, and I saw it was like literally a druid in the like animal shape of a bear, like making love to another bear. Like it was a crazy experience. So I immediately tell my friend, like, dude, did you see this? What the heck? He's like, oh yeah, the second hood on the right in the woods. Yeah, that's the one. Like, yeah, he knew
Game of the year right there.
those crazy Europeans, man. I'll tell you. But yeah, like it's crazy how it was like such a moment, but we had the exact same moment, right? And so there is that shareability. It does already do it pretty well, but I'm just imagining like how can AI make that even better, right? So my thinking then goes, okay, what if instead like I walked up to the woods and that same NPC, was just doing something else. It was just like an agent that was acting about its day, and it had its own background and set of like characteristics and so on. And so I don't know, it could have been doing something else that was totally unhinged, right? And like you can imagine where that could go, but like you know what I mean. I think that's how it can spice up the experience while still having the same kind of like major context.
So, I dropped a comment on the big board. It's what do you guys think game developers should use AI to do next for games? That's for anybody listening who just needs something to do while they're listening to all these wonderful speakers. Please drop your comments on what you guys think we should be doing with AI, and then I'll send it over to Darktable, then Jordan.
Yeah, so going off some of that, I know Jordan kind of touched on this. I think, some of the user generated content stuff, it makes it, I don't know, disastrous for game studios. Like, it's a complete double-edged sword where it can totally break any of your multiplayer. Anything that requires replication and syncing online, like, could be a nightmare to keep that in sync with other players. Also, can be a gigantic liability for the studio itself as far as like keeping your ratings for your games, like whether it's child safe or E for everyone, whatever. That whole side can really break that potentially. So I think you're going to see less of the maybe user generated side. And I think almost every studio is going to be using AI to speed up their development pipeline. So we're running into, an interesting issue where all of the studios have to build games faster because everyone's attention spans are so low. So the 3 or 4 year dev cycles are going to be like a thing of the past because by the time you come out, nobody cares about your product anymore. And everyone's going for these like micro experiences at this point where they want, games that last like a month. Like it's a small game, makes all its money in like a month or two, and then it disappears. And that's an okay thing as long as the studio comes out ahead. And the only way to do all that is to start using AI in your pipelines, which is not only, AI generated not only AI generated images for some of your stuff, your concept art, your some of your even artwork for textures, for 2D art, but also I've used Grok or ChatGPT for even building like story for the games or building, let's say, a ranked elo system. Like I need a 4-player elo system for my rank play. Like how could I set this up? All these tools help develop that a million times faster and give you like almost like an instant framework to get going where that in traditionally could have taken weeks or months of planning to get to a certain stage. So even like level design, map layout for for good player immersion and progression through a level, like that kind of stuff can all be done user or all through AI generative type deals right now, just to speed up your time to release.
Speed and time. I think John Wick, then Jordan.
Yeah, I think there were definitely some really good points that I want to touch on. I mean, as far as like how it's currently being leveraged, I was just reading this article that came out just a couple days ago, and basically is showing that like use of generative AI for studios is up already 700% year over year, and 1 in 5 games that are being released on Steam are basically saying that they're using it in their game for these type of things. And I think that's probably exactly how we're going to see kind of the implementation as you've laid it out, where it's really focusing on how can we be creating more content faster, which is basically how social media and the internet have affected most of these different types of what even just any sort of content. And I think that's really cool. I do think though, like, it also coming from like I was listening to this AI podcast from A16Z talking about kind of what where AI is going to take technology generally and the internet and different pieces, and what they were also talking about was how you think about like what agents can do and how they can interact with different websites, and what the use case might be like go shopping for me, and like all the complex things that might have to go on for an agent to go do that, and how they need to be allowed to do that, and all these different pieces. And I do think that there is something that could be cool from a development perspective of games, where you could have basically these more like meta type games developing, maybe with like building blocks of like common building blocks. And I guess coming from like the Web3 side, that's what gets me kind of excited, is like could you have a shared group of like on-chain assets that are used to create a bunch of user generated games that are all different and all completely unique because they're completely different, but their building blocks are kind of coming from the same place. Or if you own something, that you might have that interoperability feature. And I think about that as like one of the cool angles that definitely I hope that game development could take using this stuff. So throw that out.
Nice. And Jordan, then Kyle.
Are you able to hear me okay? My service isn't the best at the
Sound
exact
great.
moment.
Yeah, you're
Great.
sounding
Um,
awesome.
I just wanted to like counterpoint myself, um, and what I said earlier, in that like it's a risk, but like you can absolutely design around, towards creating shared experience while still having a very varied AI game. Right? Like you could use AI to create a ton of diversity, but then have still these major story beats that it is, tasked to kind of reconverge plot lines towards, right? Or use AI to create a lot of variation and more subtle elements while keeping the larger story structure the same. Like there's a lot of variety and options, I just think it's important to consider. Loved everything else everyone's been saying.
Variety is the spice of life. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, and I think to John Wick's point on the AI agents, I mean, I feel like that could be leveraged more as typical NPCs in games. I know one aspect we were looking at for Dark Table, since it's a 4-player card game, there's a little bit more table politics in it if you have real people. But once you go into bot games, it's kind of you lose that social aspect because you're not able to barter with those players. But the AI agents kind of allow that if we were to add those into the game and basically have like text chat or voice chat with your agents and convince them to fight other players for you like you would have done with real players. And so you can kind of bring in that social dynamic artificially back into the game. So that's one of the things we are exploring, to just add that in and make the bot games just at a whole nother level. And then as I think we can see that kind of applied to more games, especially I think we'll see it a lot in RPGs. I imagine we're going to see a lot of the NPCs become agents eventually as like, quest givers and all kind of stuff where it can be like dynamically, created based on the needs of that NPC and stuff like that. So I could see agents really developing into a good use case in gaming that also fits like the rule system of the game itself. So it's kind of contained and not just anything goes.
Spaceman, and then Jordan.
Yeah, just like speaking more, I had a point about interoperability, like Jawed brought up. I mean, we're definitely looking into integrating like entire, eventually, right? Like entire NFT collections into the game and allowing people to, using AI, integrate their characters, right? Whichever NFT they have the AI kind of detect like what it is, categorize it into whether it's like a character or like an item, right? Or some kind of cosmetic perhaps, and then have it create the actual game object. And you could even mint it as an NFT as well if you want to tokenize all of that. But yeah, like I think definitely powering interoperability is is a huge use case where I think AI can help a lot. And um, and yeah, the other thing like with UGC, just like I always really love this idea, and it's always what got me excited about things like Ready Player One and the metaverse and all of that. It is because you can have both worlds, like both things. You can have the shared experience thing and some really unique thing going on at the same time if you have a virtual world that actually has rules which allow you to build with, right? And then so like um, yeah, we've been looking into just like how can we create a game, because we're making a card game too, just like you guys at Dark Table. It's still one v one, but like we were trying to separate things so that we can have the competitive game mode, right? That's like super standardized and not having much UGC going on there, but then have the other piece of the game be where the creatives maybe can congregate and create new cards, create entire new game modes, for example, like custom games and so on. So yeah, I think that AI can like really help to, um, like you were all saying here, like make more content for your games, have your games perhaps have different little micro experiences or game modes that can cater to different, things that people are looking for.
Hit us, Jordan.
Um, yeah, I just wanted to offer up, like on this topic, there's a lot of conversation about, the obvious ways that AI can enable much more powerful NPC behavior, right? AI agents. But there's also like what I'm exploring in my game Eureka is AI as AI agents as the player character. right? Where you're still playing it, but there's a lot of kinds of gameplay that would be impossible or incredibly complex and difficult to do that AI makes much, much more simple. And this is why, since like literally 3 years ago, we didn't even really have AI agents yet. They were very primitive. But I've been planning on using it for this purpose with my game. So just like very quickly, my game Eureka is this actual North America sized continent back in 1850 that everybody's exploring in real time in first person view on the ground and just like walking around and building a whole functioning nation together and looking for gold nuggets and exploring and everything. And so, the whole idea is that it's going while you live your real life and you give your character an instruction, and then you go back to work and you can check back in 6 hours later and like see how they're doing. And I started and I realized we needed to use AI for our character controls from the beginning because of some very, very simple behaviors I wanted to enable that I couldn't figure out how to do otherwise. Like, for example, telling your character you're exploring the wilderness, right? You want to tell your character, follow this river north. Rivers are like these big, winding, crazy things. They all go all over the place, right? How do you do that? Right? If it's just like a river, like you can't sit there holding forwards and then kind of start turning left and then do that for an hour and then start turning right again and do that for the next 3 hours. Right? Like it's actually a very complicated behavior to code in with non-intelligent logic. But if you use an AI agent, it can very easily just walk a direction following this curving path of a river for 6 straight hours without a concern. So giving AI the reins of the player instead of a controller enabled really powerful but very simple behaviors that are like literally going to let my game exist, and it wouldn't have been possible without it. And I think there's so much more that's possible in the same direction that we're going to see coming as people start to explore it.
I'm gonna just really quickly, Kyle, I'm gonna give you the next speak, but I want to introduce or just say hey to a couple people, give sound checks around the room. So if you're new, just get ready to say hey. But go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah. So the one thing I just want to caveat is there's lots of push on the UGC side, and we've seen it in the investment space as well. Like UGC is the next buzzword that everybody wants to jump onto. But I think like everyone just needs to pay attention that it's not a like magic pill to like succeed as a game. Like the UGC only is important after you have an established IP. So like it's on you to somehow sell the game first or the product first and like build it up big enough that people care about the UGC to go make their own experiences. So it's it's a nice to have. I think Spaceman is probably hitting it the correct way, which is you're making a card game and then you're gonna have a UGC side for people to make their own experiences there. And it's like, well, you're going to rally behind creating the card game first. You're going to market and UA run for the card game, and then it's going to build into a UGC side. But we've seen like a lot of people just try to say, oh, I'm making this UGC thing, making this UGC thing. It's like, well, you have to go compete against Roblox and Fortnite, who have a million-year head start on the UGC side. So what are you going to do that's going to set you apart from that and start taking some of the audience? That's a challenge. So we've seen this in the esports side before too, where everyone says, I'm going to make this esport game. It's like, well, you can't just say you're going to do it. Like you have to build a game first, and then it needs to develop into esports kind of naturally, and players have to get behind that. So it's not as easy, I guess, as just saying UGC, even though it is a really nice use case once you get there.
Love it. IP first. Logic, how you doing? Just doing a sound check with you, buddy. What's going on
Yo,
with you, and how you feeling about the topic of AI and gaming today?
yeah, I think just AI everything, I just want to replace humans and make everything AI. That's my take on it, at least. I mean, I'm also waiting to upload my consciousness into the internet, so I'm kind
I
of
love
like
it.
in that sphere. Like I'm waiting for Neuralink, I'm waiting to be a cyborg, and that's where I'm at.
I can't wait till we get there. That's gonna be so much fun to meet you in virtual space. And I'll cue up Valen on this one, but Valen's been working on making a bunch of us using tools, AI and art to make little models of himself and all his friends. And I'm blessed to be one of them. Valen, how you doing today?
Thanks, Alex. I'm doing well. My mic working
Yeah,
well?
you sound great. How's it been going trying to
Nice, nice.
battle AI and prompting making little versions of us?
It's a lot of fun. Like it's very new to me as well. I've never used Blender or Unity, which also comes in play. So there's a lot of new stuff I have to learn as well. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun, and I even made a post on my Twitter if anyone wants to check out what the results are. But yeah, it's great for me, someone as me that's a total noob at rigging or 3D modeling, to be able to make this fairly easy and fairly quick. I think it's great. I love AI, and I would love to see more of it in games. Also, as far as I know, they've always used AI in games ever since the 70s. Basic models, but we've had AI for a very long time. And one of my favorite games, Black and White, back in, what was it, 2001, I believe, used one of the first AI agents you could train in a game. So it would change its behavior depending on you punishing him or rewarding him.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm all for it.
Just a quick a quick reference point on this. When did you start this project? Like when did you start touching modeling as a whole?
4 days ago.
4 days ago. My guy, doing awesome work. Let me shoot it over to Kyle, then Spaceman.
Yeah, to balance whole effort there, like it's that's going to be a huge cost savings for studios. I mean, like 3D modeling and animation, well, even just rigging before you get to animation is a literal nightmare. Like it to do it traditionally just takes so much time and money to achieve like even, moderate results. And so that being like helped by AI or AI like producing a 90% solution there is going to save studios, I mean, millions of dollars easily. Even on small scale games, you'll probably easily save $1 million in your MVP just on animation and rigging. So yeah, it's huge.
I threw some of Valance progress post up on the Jumbotron, so check it out when you get a chance. Go ahead, Spaceman, hit us.
All right, I have 2 points here. Speaking from some things that have been said already. So the first is just to continue the conversation about the UGC stuff. So like, I definitely agree that it can't just be like your selling point. But I do see it as being an awesome way to. It's like a game mode, right? It's an activity to keep the community or to build the community first of all while you're finishing the main game. That's kind of like what we're doing, or like we're building towards. Because yeah, we're still early on, and so I definitely see it as a nice way to community build, to try to get the community to help with marketing by making stuff in your UGC tool and so on. So and then like have some fun together. So I think that could be nice. But it is always hard to build community in this day and age, as we all know. So it's always a challenge. And the other thing is on the IP side of it, like we are, I guess, fortunate in the sense that we're we're really leaning on partnerships with like other established NFT communities. So they have the IP already kind of done, um, or done to the extent of an NFT is, and then so yeah, we're leaning on that kind of community value for the IP that already exists there. On
Spaceman.
the
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Real quick question on having other IPs enter your ecosystem. We've been a part of a couple of those with the Sandbox, Nifty Island. There was Degen Royale, couple of
Yep.
these like that.
Mhm.
How are you guys handling integrating them into your game? Do you have your own artists on staff? Are you guys taking the brunt of generating their IP into the game, or are you finding ways to have collaborative efforts or allow their artists to come in and try their hand at putting their models into your game?
Yeah, so for context, my game is 2D pixel art based, and so yeah, we haven't finished the game or a full integration of any like full NFT collection yet. However, what we're thinking about doing and what we're starting to do with some of our partners is that we are like developing characters ourselves. So our team is, working with their team to decide the design for like a representative character for their IP, or maybe a few characters or like other item cards and so on, right? But we designed that with them, with our artists, building that, and like that will be a part of like the main, our first collection of cards and like the main game. But then what we're experimenting with is these using these AI tools to define, like fine tune the model on our style, and then try to automate the generation of our game style assets of their NFTs in our game style, right? Because that's
Yeah.
the only way it could actually be feasible. There's no way anyone could make thousands of art pieces for every partnership. Like that would be crazy. So yeah, that's how we're thinking about it.
Gotcha. No, that's awesome sauce, and I love when games are able to collaborate on that way and be interoperable, if you will. But yeah, I agree. It is a little easier to keep interoperability going when in-house resources are there. Um, for sure. We had a new speaker enter the space, so I just wanted to say hey and give them a sound check really quick. Nadim, you requested up. How are you today, sir?
GM, I'm good. What about you?
I'm great, man. Welcome to the grid space. What are you thinking about this AI and gaming topic?
I have some questions.
Yeah, shoot.
What balance do we want between AI driven and human crafted content?
What balance do we want between AI crafted or human crafted user generated content? Go ahead, Ghost
Yes,
Cat. You can hit us off, Ghost Cat, with that. Thanks for the question, Nadim. Yeah.
thank you.
I have an unpopular opinion.
All are welcome.
I think
No, get out.
AI is a great tool, right? I use it, and for me, like we touched on this. Well, we touched on it. We talked about it in the last space, but for me, there's a difference between like um technical aspects to doing something and creative aspects to doing something. And that goes down to like your character designs and your 3D modeling, right? To me, that's creative aspects. That's where you get an artist, right? And they pour in their effort all the time. They learn doing that craft, and they have their styles that they'll implement into the artwork that they do. And to me, that's something that AI shouldn't replace. Um, Even though it can get close, people are using it for that. I don't think it should replace an artist touch, because at the end of the day, we have feelings and emotions that cannot be replicated, um, no matter how well you make it. So that creative aspect, I think, is very unique to humans. And there are technical aspects that you could use AI for, right? For like crunching numbers down, for getting something to work, right? For getting a mechanic to work properly, um to to move your assets around the map, whatever. But I think there's a huge difference between those two things, where AI can be an incredible tool.
Heard. Kyle, go ahead.
I'll make another unpopular opinion on that opinion. So the I think the big thing we have to look at for like that exact point of what should be done by AI and what should be done by artists is like it all needs to ends up it all ends up being a financial decision. Period. So like if if people are cool with buying things that are AI generated because the average player's attention span is so low and their threshold for quality is so low that they can be okay with buying that, then I don't see how it will ever be competitive for a real artist again. That's the challenge. Because what we're saying is, people are used to buying Roblox stuff right now that looks like Play-Doh that can be done in 5 minutes in Blender, and it can be done, probably instantaneous in AI. And if they're used to buying that, like, why are they going to buy something that an animator and a modeler, it took like, a month of their time to develop this character that now you're a few $100,000 sunk into to like bring a new character to Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends or something. It's like, okay, now my pain tolerance is so high. Like I have to sell so much more of this character just to be back to where I would have been with AI. Like it's scary, and it's like that's going to be the battle for the actual artist. How do you make yourself marketable to that sense? Because the studios are just going to be looking at how do I make the most money with the least cost that the audience is willing to pay for. So that's the big challenge.
Spaceman with the response, go for it, and then Jay.
Yeah, exactly. So there is just a spectrum of experience, quality, cost, time, all these key variables. And, it's up to you as the creator to then decide, okay, where do I want to be in that spectrum? I can't be perfect at everything. That's impossible. So yeah, I don't know if it's so much an ethics or moral kind of question, because it is just a tool at the end of the day. So then yeah, I think there's just going to be, like we saw in mobile, like there's just going to be a lot of slop out there, and for better or for worse, they're going to make a decent amount of money. But I think a lot of us here are probably not going to opt for those experiences. We're going to opt for like the higher quality and experiences, and I do think that it will make those experiences better anyway. So at the end of the day, I think it'll improve a bunch of stuff. I just wanted to make one more point on the agents stuff that was brought up a little bit earlier. Okay, so I thought I had this really cool thought, and I think he might have left. But yeah, the guy who was talking about that game he was making, like, wouldn't it be interesting? Because I think I've seen this in a movie. Like, if you as a player hand off the reins to a character, for most of the time to an agent, but then like when the player wants to kind of log in, you then control the character and everything they're doing for that amount of time. So then, like, I wonder if that creates a kind of weird, like, fun little dichotomy in like those movies where kind of two people share the same body kind of thing. So I just had a fun thought with that, and like what that could mean if the agent would, like, you know not behave because it's like pissed off that you took too long yesterday with the body or whatever. Just wanted to share that thought.
It's come up again. It's come up like that with RPG games, or like games like that would require like a party of players. Imagine having 4 agents that you could at any point pick up the controls for and continue on their specific story. But when you're gone, they are just living their own best life in game. And when you need a party to party up for a dungeon, you've got your 4 characters that are all autonomous essentially, until called upon. And it's an interesting theory, 100%. Jay, and then Jawik.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I think this is a great time to bring to the surface that we all know appreciating quality in art is a skill, even for the layperson. Like, of course, there are, these experts and these critics and these even, PhD holders that do this on the highest level. But even the layperson needs to develop the skill of differentiating between slop or trash and something that is, going to have an impact on them in their lives. Like, everybody in this room remembers specific movies, specific TV shows, specific video games, specific music albums that impacted them as a person to this day. And it's not really about that anymore per se right now. It's more about the attention economy, a race to the bottom of how to capture the most attention for the lowest cost and the lowest amount of effort. And, in this conversation with AI, it's like, if people are upset about the quality of AI, just change the people, change how the people think until they think that like random AI stuff is just as good as the Matrix. And then they're like, if my youngest brother saw a movie 4 years from now that was total garbage, but they thought it was as good as the Matrix, I would be like, oh my God. And then I show them the Matrix and they don't understand how to even consume that media on a level of appreciation, because they're so influenced and built from the ground up by our current culture of this attention economy, junk food content, and everything in all aspects of media, music, and everything. So, I think that it's going to remain difficult to appease Xers and and millennials, and probably most Zoomers. But like alphas and betas, they're not. They're, it's almost like there's no chance for us to maintain the pillars of quality that we think are important to maintain in these industries when all of the main attention drivers don't know how to appreciate that quality and just drive for attention, and that's pretty much it. So I think that as the markets become more niche, then the opportunities to run profitable boutique media operations in all aspects, video games, music, movies, etc., will go up, but that population will be aging and continue to age. So, something like the Matrix will be very, very valuable to a low number of people who collect things like vintage cars from 1969. But then it's going to be, like you said, Roblox, Play-Doh, and even more derivative than that moving forward.
Media boutique, Jawick, then Kyle, then Nopera.
Yeah, no, I think that those are definitely some really good points, Jay. And I mean, I guess it kind of comes back to a question of like, do we believe that the people shape the culture, or that like can culture can shape the people, and generation after generation, right? And there's some really interesting cases of like how that happened in worlds like wrestling, and was the WWE a mirror that was being put up to culture, or was it driving some of the cultural things inside of it when it was huge, and these different questions? Because I think that if we're really shaped by the culture that's presented to us, definitely we're on that path towards kind of idiocracy a little bit here with I mean, now it's one of the cool things, skibbity toilet and Italian brain rot that's all being made, from AI, right? So it's like these are the things that are potentially shaping what is cool or what is good, and yeah, I don't know. That is a little bit frightening to kind of think about. But one of the thoughts that I had, I do think that there will always be value on human expression, on artistic expression, on the skills that humans have. I think the scalability of it is one of the bigger concerns. I'm wondering, one of the things that I've thought about is will we be able to develop tools in such a way that like say an artist can spend a lot of time perfecting a certain aesthetic or a certain style that is kind of true to them in their own, and then could that be leveraged by AI to increase the scale of the content, right? So if I just am an amazing artist creating amazing anime type of art in a certain style that's very unique to me, but then maybe in the future a marketplace might exist where someone could take that style and that aesthetic, use it in a video game, use it in some kind of media form, and attribute it back to the original author, and not kind of this the ripping off piece. And I think I don't know if I guess maybe that's a little hopeful where I hope we land, because the scale at which stuff will be able to be produced is not slowing down, and we'll just continue to be able to pump slop out.
You got to admit though, Gatorade in the water fountain sounds amazing. I mean, as a creative myself, like where I'm finding the nice middle ground between like, artists screaming AI's taking our jobs and like freaking out about it. What's stopping me is somebody who's creative to building my own art style or my own IP, and then learning AI, and then turning my IP into a collection myself, opposed to anybody else doing it for me. I'm just continuing to grow with the tools available and the technology here. I don't see anything wrong with that at all, and I think everybody should dip their toe in a little bit of AI creation to see what it's like, what it takes, and what it can do for their own art styles. I'll go to Kyle, then Nopera, then Spaceman.
Yeah, based on that, I mean, yeah, I think we're starting to see that even in the job recs that are going out for new artists, for 3D modelers, for graphic designers. Like if it says like, have you used generative art? Like, can you use these tools? Because they know it's like if you use them, you can do the work of 10 people. Like if you are a graphic designer or a modeler, whatever, now you're using the tools, you can be 10 times as effective easily. And so it's like that's going to be the next standard to get a job is to do that. And it's like, and my sympathy goes out with the artists. Listen, I would have loved to make, the 10-year MMO game where you just sink your soul into it and just build stuff forever and you have this huge team and do all this stuff. But that is not where the market is, and that's not where the audience is right now. Like there's no player base that you can get to then like pay yourself back for that dev time. Like it's just the cost is too great. So you're up against this battle of just like I get it, man. I love the art that people create, and it's way more. There's more depth to it than the AI, easily, and artistically looks better. Like especially all of the let's say like League of Legends art style where it's very stylistic. Like that is awesome stuff, but just the cost to get to any sort of game is so high now that it's just, can you recoup any of that cost? Like just a typical game right now to get to like an MVP, if you're a double A studio, let's say, like you're in the $5 to $8 million realm to get a prototype made. What are the odds right now that you can recoup that in the current market? Like we're seeing so many games just flop immediately because they can't get the player base and because everybody is fighting over attention, the same group of gamers, and you're not pulling them away from their giant IPs. So it's like you might not be able to take the risk of investing $8 million into your prototype when it is like almost a 0.5% chance you get that back or something. Whereas like the user generated content or the AI side, now it's like, okay, my prototype maybe cost me $100,000 or something, and now I can take the risk of doing this and hope to get my money back on these projects and hit a hit on one of these experiments I do. And I think that's kind of where it's progressing because of Jay's point, where it's like everyone's just looking for these micro experiences now. They're not like taking long form content. They're not appreciating like art for art anymore. And that's just the consumer base. Whether we like it or not, like that's where we are right now. And I don't like it, but it's so as a studio, you have to separate yourself from the artist, where it's like if you want to run a business, you have to go where the business sense makes sense and where the audience is and where your consumer base is, and you just have to play that game. Like if you want to support the artist, like that's a different battle that might be a losing battle right now. It's a big challenge.
I stopped listening to you after like 15 seconds because my attention span's terrible now. But Nopera, Spaceman, then Goats Cat.
All right. Well, yeah, I did pay attention to everything Kyle just said. What up, everybody? Happy to see all of you up here. Kyle, what I did want to say is that essentially now there will be ways for any creator's work to get easier with AI. I agree with that. But you'll always have to add more touches here at this current phase we're in with video generation and everything. If you pay a lot, that does maybe 20, 30, 40% of work. I'll agree with you that as years go by, it'll do more of our work. But even if they manage to somehow stick creativity into a language model, once it's stuck in there and it's used by multiple sources, it becomes in multiple places, therefore becoming generic. The content itself might have been good, but the big guys don't want to have the same pattern as the other companies. Everybody's going to want something that sticks out, and that is something that an AI can never imitate, which is the individuality of certain creators that do most of their work by hand.
And also just something to consider, if you guys have not yet played with AI generative tools, go and try and build anything. Make a picture, make a video, make a whatever, and then try and like wait a week and recreate the exact same style of thing over and over again. It's going to come out slightly different every time unless you're at the point where you're training your own data and you're really good at prompting and you're really good at keeping consistency with your prompting. It's a feat in itself. Go ahead, Spaceman.
Yeah, definitely would recommend tinkering with these tools and just playing around with it if you haven't already. I definitely think that like as the market gets more and more saturated with low quality AI slop, there will be a greater hunger for these more higher quality productions. So it's not like the new kind of status quo is going to be like everything is going to suck. I don't think it's quite like that. Like how a lot of us feel from social media. I do because like think about movies, right? I like curate a lot of movies I watch, and like a lot of my friends come to me for recommendations because they know that like I've filtered all the content out there and they have learned to like trust my creation. So I do believe that curating higher quality experiences will become more and more of a bigger thing. And so yeah, like the idea of making, if you want to aim for that, like a higher quality indie game with a smaller team is now possible because of this tech. So there's two sides to every coin.
100%. Go ahead, Ghost Cat.
What's good? Um, I wanted to touch a little bit on like the topic of what was like how games are being the attention span is so short that people are focusing like more so on like those quick, developed games. But that's very short term thinking. Like if you're trying to build towards that, you're like knowingly building something that's going to last a month, right? We see so many games being built like on Steam, it gets hyped and then it just stops. Right? We've seen like this repo style type of game get iterated like several times this year already, and nobody remembers the one that was released in January, right? It dies off quickly, and yeah, they built for the attention span. It got hype, it got numbers, but then it died off quickly. And so like thinking like that is very short term. That's not building something that's going to last long term. You want to build something that's going to last long term. You want to build a strong IP, strong lore, strong story, and games and experiences that are based off of that, because that will last long term despite the attention span and despite other things that get attention. There will be long term things that you could build. And we're still seeing like Pokemon, Star Wars, Marvel. These are all strong IPs that have been around. They're getting the attention. They're not going to die out anytime soon. And other things still get that short term attention, right? Those hype waves, but it doesn't draw away from things that are quality and that have been lasting long term. So I think like if you want to build short term, like knowing that you're gonna die out soon, that's great. But like for long term wise, you can focus on quality things. And I don't think you need millions of dollars. Um, I think the projects that have failed just misused their funds, quite honestly. To have that much money and that much resources, you mismanaged heavily if you failed. um right. So it's not like based on how much money you have. It's just building actual quality things. I think the projects that try to do something fast and not focus on quality, not focus on IP, those are the ones that died out. And we've seen that. We're seeing that now. Um so I think like you got to focus more so on the quality. It just takes time. Yeah, it'll take a long time, but I think the outcome will be worth it. um yeah.
Take your time. Ghost Cat, thank you. I'm gonna just really quick just rope us all in. I am having so much fun with this conversation, and we are 5 minutes over the hour. I want to respect the time and everybody's time here today, but it's been an amazing conversation. I'm gonna give Kyle the last word on this topic for today. It's been amazing. I'm almost tempted to run a round 3. But let me give Kyle the last word. I'll close out, and then we'll hand it off to Jay for some housekeeping closeouts.
Yeah, I'll respond to that. I mean, I think it's just a challenging thing because so yes, you would like to create, this long-term game, but you have to figure out, where are you going to make your money on this product long term. So like for Dark Table, we can be a long-term game because we're building out like enough, gameplay that can last a while. We have constant content that'll be coming out for the game. The key though with that whole thing is, does your business model allow your game to be sustained on a very low amount of players? So in our case, it's like if we had, a few like 10, 20,000 active community members or active players, that could be enough to sustain our project indefinitely. So that then it can be a long-term project. But if my game requires 1 million players because I need 1 million players on a free-to-play game and then have a 5% conversion ratio of players to buyers, and 5% of my buying community now has to sustain all the development costs and the server costs and all this stuff, that's a lot harder of a sell for me to be able to maintain 1 million players in this day where we're fighting over attention. So that's where it's like, I love the idea of long-term games. It's not viable for every studio. Like if you're trying to create a studio and you want to do this for your living versus like a hobby, hobby, do whatever, take forever to make a game, and that's fine. Maybe it pays off and you make your money at the end. But if you want to sustain salaries, like, you got to find ways that pays back. And so the quicker, development cycles, I agree with you. This could be a culture thing, and it's not a good culture thing, but it's like that's where kind of like casinos and gambling and dopamine hits have driven everything. And it's not just gaming; it's media. Like it's all social media, reels, YouTube shorts. Every experience is becoming smaller and smaller for faster dopamine hits. I don't think that's a good thing, but that is the climate that we are playing in as businesses. And so you got to just choose your battles. And I totally love people, pushing for, good, high quality, long-term games with great lore, great story, all these things. Everyone has to accept the risk that is associated with any path you choose. And I hope everybody the best, and that they can, become profitable and have a good studio at the end of the day. So definitely just things to look out for.
Amazing closing statement, Kyle. Thank you. That's just good insight and good reality check. Guys, this has been an absolutely banger space. I'm really excited. Thank you all the people who showed up to listen, especially to those who came to speak today. Nadim for popping in for a great question to keep us rolling. Guys, I can't say enough how much I appreciate you today. It's been a great topic on AI and gaming. And we're going to be back in 2 weeks. So if you have another topic in mind, if you have something you want to dive into, please let us know somewhere in the comments. You know where to find us in all different places. If you haven't followed all these speakers, they're all being amazing people in their own right and in their own spaces. Go check out what they're doing and why they have all the insight that they brought to the table today. I hope that this topic, if nothing else, inspired you to pick up an AI tool and just try it out and see what's going on and what this whole thing's about. Get your feet wet. The only thing you can do is do it wrong and press Control Z and try again. So give it a whirl. I leave it off to Jay to close out for the space, but thank you guys. Big thanks. This was a great space today.
Absolutely outstanding. Totally agree there. And I just have a couple quick housekeeping, and then we'll be on our way for the rest of the day. First up, we did, due to a glitch, have our gold check mark disappear in our account, but everything is nominal and normal. Something Elon, blah blah blah. Like, dealing with the organization process is way more red tape than the blue check mark, and the first time took weeks and weeks, and I'm kind of over it. So we're basically trading that in for the highest level of blue check mark. We can still do all the things we want to do on our account and post all our articles, and we're still here, and everything's fine. The next one is the node situation, the node awesome situation continues. I wanted to announce, though, that we are giving the community enough time to build up enough XGrid to claim their 100% of their 25% unlock, and you need 60 days of uptime to do that. Because we launched the DIY step of the nodes after the hosted solution, we're going to be giving people more time so that everybody in the community can get up to that 60-day mark. So anybody that's concerned, like in Discord or Telegram, like, oh, I wanted to run my own nodes, but now it seems like I might not have enough time to get the full 60 days of uptime. Don't worry about it. Like, I got y'all covered. It's going to be all Gucci there. And with that said, I just want to thank everybody again as well, along with Maddox, for speaking today. Amazing sound bites. I think that going forward with a part 3 does make a lot of sense. I mean, this is the meta. This is the convo. This is what's hot right now. And also everyone in the audience for taking time out of your day to listen to all of us up here. Really appreciate it. Without your presence here, there wouldn't even need to be a reason for a show. So we really love the fact that you stopped by to listen to everybody. And also thanks to Nadim for the cameo question today, jumping up from the audience. That was awesome. So again, really appreciate all of y'all out there in the Grid community. Hope to see y'all again in 2 weeks from now for the next show, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.